Good evening. I'm Eula Clark, Mayor of the City of Stuart, calling to order the regular meeting of the Stuart City Commission, August 23rd, 5:30 p.m. at our City Commission chambers, 121 Southwest Flagler Avenue. This is the nature of our business today, our regular City Commission meeting. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Clark,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Here.
Commissioner Bruner,
Here.
Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Yes, we're all here assembled. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Vice Mayor Merritt Matheson, let us remember all those in leadership, especially in our government, at our local, state, and national level, and all those who serve us as first responders.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As we remembered when we did the Pledge of Allegiance, those who serve in government, we have the pleasure today of swearing in two of our commissioners who have been recently re-elected to their positions. Commissioner Becky Bruner, who ran unopposed, and Commissioner Troy McDonald, who had opposition and who won his race. And today we're going to ask our city attorney to be in charge of that, as well as our city clerk with the election results and then the oath of office. Is that city manager or
Madam
city
Mayor.
clerk? City clerk, please give us the election results for our August 17th election.
Sure. City Clerk Mary Kindle for the record. The 2021 municipal election for Commissioner Group 2 and 4 was held on Tuesday, August 17th, with the unofficial results released immediately and the official results released on August 20th. 11.2% of registered City of Stuart voters participated in this election. With this primarily vote by mail election was the percentage. As the percentages were as follows, I'm sorry. Vote by mail, 78%. Early voting, 7%. Election day was 15%. City Commission seat Group 2, Becky Bruner was unopposed. Congratulations, Commissioner Bruner. City Commission seat Group 4, the whole number of votes cast was 1,351, of which Karen Hall received 445 votes, which was 33% of the vote, and Troy McDonald received 906 votes, which was 67% of the vote, declaring the incumbent Troy McDonald as the winner of the election. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner McDonald. And I would just like to thank publicly the Supervisor of Elections Office, especially Vicki Davis and Debbie Dent for their support during this election.
Thank you so much. The oath of office will be administered by our city attorney, Mr. Mike Mortel. If you'd like to go down front or stay in your seats, whichever way you prefer. Miss Bruner will be first.
Would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I do solemnly swear that I will support, honor, protect, and defend the Constitution
I do solemnly swear that I will support, honor, protect, and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States
and government of the United States
and the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution
of the state of Florida
the state of Florida
and under the charter of the city of Stuart,
and under the charter of the city of Stuart,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of City of Stuart Commissioner
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of City of Stuart Commissioner,
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Bruner. Now for the administration of oath for Ms. Bruner, would you like a picture? Did you
I'm
take a picture,
okay, but he
Mr.?
can take one if he wants, but
Thank you. The administration
Thank
of,
you,
the
Jim.
administration of oath let's have some civility. The administration of oath with regard to Mr. McDonald.
Commissioner McDonald, this is the oath of the City of Stuart Commissioner. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, honor, protect, and defend the Constitution
I do solemnly swear that I will support, honor, protect, and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution
of the state of Florida and under the charter of the City of Stuart,
of the state of Florida and under the charter of the city of Stuart,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
of City of Stuart Commissioner,
of City of Stuart Commissioner,
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mortel. Thank you, clerk, for a good job with the elections and for everybody who cooperated. Our next item on the agenda is the comments by the city commissioners. Commissioner Bruner.
I just wanted to say thanks for the city being able to send me and whoever on the commission up here. We went to, well, I did, Mike too, the 2021 Florida League of Cities Annual Conference. And I was there 4 days, and you just learn so much. But I just want to, I'm really grateful that I got to go, and I'm grateful and honored to be able to sit here in this seat. So thank you all.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank the residents of City of Stuart for re-electing me and giving me the honor and the pleasure of having the privilege to represent everyone. It was, campaigns are a lot of work, but they're fun. You get to meet a lot of people. You get to hear a lot of what's going on in the community. And I need to thank one special person. There's so many people to thank, but I need to thank my wife, Portia. Without her, I can't do any of this. She's my partner in life, my teammate, and the reason why I'm able to do all of this. So, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. So.
Thank you, Portia. Thank you. Thank you, Troy. Thank you. Welcome again to the commission officially, and I know that it was very interesting work trying to campaign and do things during another year of COVID. So we appreciate all the effort that all the candidates went through, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, like Commissioner Bruner, I attended the Florida League of Cities Annual Conference. Great event, learned a lot. I was lucky enough to, I'm part of the Young Municipal Elected Officials group, and we had our first kind of official meeting as a recognized group within FLC at this last conference, which was nice to talk to other young electeds, but also just to share stories and kind of see that we're all going through the same challenges with growth and with planning, our communities. And I made a really great new friend with young Commissioner Nath out of Dade City, and a wise new friend who happened to come in later on to our group, Councilwoman Jody Wilkerson from Zephyr Hills. And we just talked for so long, but I learned, she was describing to me how in Zephyr Hills, they've been doing some interesting planning, zoning, and local government organized projects to address affordable housing, both through building housing or partnering with agencies to build housing, but also in sort of limiting or incentivizing the sale of units to existing members of the community, helping block some kind of investor speculators from coming in out of market and driving prices up. Seemed like they're figuring it out there, so I'm going to talk to her more and get her some of their experiences there in front of staff and see if we can bring that back. But great event. We also adopted the league's policy, legislative policy positions for this year. I have a couple edits or recommendations I'll suggest when we get to that agenda item later. I know we've got to close that up before the delegation meeting in September, but I'll bring those up then. And welcome back, commissioners. Enjoy serving with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Well, first off, congratulations, Commissioner McDonald, Commissioner Bruner. Welcome back. Feels like just 2 weeks ago we were in the Blake Library together.
That was only 2 weeks ago?
It was only 2 weeks ago. Feels like and Commissioner Bruner, Commissioner Meyer, thank you for heading up to the legislative conference. I feel like I was a member of the young elected municipal officials, but I've kind of stepped back, and I thank you for taking the reins. I've focused a little more on my family, and I've been a little more cautious on COVID. But that effort is so important, so I'm glad, and I'd like to hear what you learned. I want to touch on Lake Okeechobee real quick. There is an operational PDT meeting coming up on the 25th. Mr. Hogarth drafted an excellent letter after numerous conversations with myself, which I sent on behalf of the city to Colonel Kelly and the entire team at the Army Corps of Engineers, basically comparing Plan CC as it relates to us and it relates to stakeholders on the West Coast. If you've been following it all, some of the stakeholders on the West Coast, to sum it up quick, are saying they got the short end of the stick, where exactly we are, by some model runs that Martin County did with their modeling team, we are dead on par. If you use recover measures created years ago by the South Florida Water Management District of what is best in terms of stressful and damaging discharges to either estuary. So Plan CC, which the Army Corps adopted and is using as a baseline model, is dead on par. Some other interesting data that we sent to the Corps was that if you compare those recover metrics and analyze the past 10 years of what's been happening, the St. Lucie estuary has been getting hammered a lot more than the Caloosahatchee. So we do realize a larger improvement than our West Coast stakeholders, but in terms of the amount of discharges we each get and their harm to each estuary, Plan CC levels the playing field for us, which is a very important point to make, and I'll be pushing that further. Lake Okeechobee right now is at 14.4 feet. Remember, I think a couple weeks ago I said as we reach 14 feet, that is the dangerous point for us when they cannot regulate the C44 canal, which they've been using their operational flexibility to do with Lake Okeechobee. It's a very small amount of water, relatively speaking, to the entire lake. But above that 14-foot height, they regulate the C44 canal with the S80. So right now, when it rains in western Martin County, and currently we're getting roughly 100 CFS out of the C44 canal into our estuary, which would not naturally come our way. But, you know, they have to regulate the height of that canal for residents and infrastructure along that canal. It's not a great situation. It's not lake water, but in a sense, it's the equivalent of lake water in a minimal amount. So I realize that every time I notice it raining in western Martin County. Try and be quick, but I have thought a lot about our tough decision. I know you probably, all of my fellow commissioners up here have with Costco. It wasn't easy. We have to look at everything as a whole, and there's a tremendous amount of information that comes in. I had some hard times with some of the emails or comments from people that I really do respect or share a lot of the same values with, and it's it is frankly disheartening to hear, their perception of me after one tough vote. But I truly do believe we made the best realistic decision overall. And one of the things I would ask for, and I'm prepared to make a motion to have staff bring back, is how we compare and evaluate wetlands. And what I mean by that, not in terms of our buffer, but in terms of whether or not we allow mitigation. And that's been brought up, Martin County does not allow mitigation of wetlands. Their buffers are stricter than ours, which, I'm not opposed to the way our buffers are. One thing that Martin County does do that Commissioner Meyer, you were touching on at the meeting, they do allow mitigation of wetlands that are created by human activity. So all I'd ask for right now, because there's a lot of different ways this could go. One option, if we were discussing is, increase the amount of wetlands purchased if we even decided to continue mitigating wetlands. Or we could decide to not allow wetland mitigation at all in the city of Stuart. But it would be helpful for me, at least, if we could have a review of our wetland mitigation policy and compare that review to the county. And we could discuss that out in the open and hear our thoughts. And my motion would be to have staff bring back a review of that sort, either at the next meeting or the meeting after.
I'd second that, but just to suggest that maybe we make it a workshop, just because, I would want to give it proper time. Because, I know I'm not the only one that reread through the comp plan and the LDC a million times before and during CAN or CPUD. And so I'm sure there's a lot of things we would need to question, especially now looking at the counties. So I'd want to give it its quality time. I know up here, our discussions go on and on. We have agenda items we want to get through, and then if we do it as a D&D or whatever, at the end of the day, we're going to be tired and burned out.
Would agree that a workshop probably would be better, and that's why I didn't want to limit it to directly the next meeting. The two topics that I tried my best to drill home in any discussion with Costco were the environment and stormwater, and planting the environment and stormwater. And it's hard because we all can't communicate until we're at a public meeting, but those are some where, from some of my advisors, stress that, why don't you compare big brother, big sister Martin County and see how they're doing it for ways to improve. And that's what I'm always trying to do up here, is find ways to improve.
So can I ask that you amend your motion that it would be a
Yes.
special?
I would
Workshop.
amend it for a workshop instead of at a regular meeting.
And I'll amend my second.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just real quick on this. The wetland mitigation is in the comp plan, which we went through the whole year process. So you spent, city commission, I was not back on the commission yet, but spent a good part of a year going through that and discussing it, and commission did not change it. And or if there were some modifications regarding wetland, but I've heard eliminating wetland mitigation. So I would say that you guys, with the commission, has talked about it. Second, comparing us to Martin County is not apples and apples. It's more like apples and oranges. We're in a redevelopment infill. There a situation where the county has large rural lands with true interconnected wetlands. So, it's just, I just want to make sure that, if you're going to compare city and county, you got to be comparing apples and apples, not apples and oranges.
I agree, and I don't want to come out of us for us to be exactly like that. And I want to be clear on that. But I also, don't see too much difference for the environmental push that the county and I are, and the city of Stuart are doing. I agree with what's happened historically where, there's been annexations for say from the county to the city in terms of the city should justly so have an increased density than the county in a way to reduce sprawl. But I won't buy, and this is why we pushed it hard, and we may not come up with any more changes in our comp plan with this workshop, but we didn't have a workshop specifically on environmental comparisons with stormwater and wetlands, comparing us to, one of the counties that has done that the best in the state.
I'd venture to say on stormwater, we've done better than the county, but.
It depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, I'm hearing both, and that's why I'd say we may not come up with any changes.
I'll vote for a workshop, but I'm just saying that what I'm saying is, let's make sure that when we go into this, we're looking at it with the fact that there was been a review of the comp plan and apples and apples versus apples and oranges, so.
I mean, it may still be advantageous for City of Stuart to allow wetland mitigation, whereas the county does not.
Let's
But
call the question.
I think it will help for us to have that discussion.
Okay. So, we have a motion in your comments, and we have you seconded, Commissioner Meyer? Do you understand what's going on, Clerk?
Yes,
You have it all?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay.
Staff bring back a review of wetland mitigation policy and to hold a wetland mitigation workshop.
Stormwater, wetland.
Wetland and stormwater.
Okay.
All right, thank you. City Manager, do you have any comment on that?
Only that the stormwater will be coming back to you guys as the master plan is coming back to you, the draft master plan, I believe, maybe in late September. So that'll be a completely separate deal because it's an actual master plan that we've paid to have done.
Okay. Is it an all in favor vote, or do you want to hear our voices?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other comment, Commissioner Matheson?
No, Madam
Vice
Mayor.
Mayor Matheson?
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to Commissioner Bruner and Commissioner McDonald. Thank you so much. And again, everybody wondered what was going on at the city of Stuart, whether or not we had an election. And thank you to the staff who did the election and the canvassing count and recount afterwards. And thank you so much, City Clerk, for your job. And please give Miss Vicky Davis our thanks and appreciation for her staff. With regard to Costco, I echo what Commissioner Vice Mayor has said, and to thank the staff and just everybody for, such a long meeting and so many decisions to balance, and to thank the county for using the Blake Library under the circumstances. On last Friday, we had a vaccine clinic here at the city of Stuart. I'm hoping to work with agencies and doctors or persons who want to allow people to have more access, if they would like to the vaccine, as well as to testing. People are needing to test more frequently now. So hopefully we'll continue to work in that vein, and if we can accommodate people whether on our property or in some other areas of the city, we'd like to work on that. And I just want to thank Gail Force, Mr. Stanley Campbell, and Ms. Thelma Washington, and all of the team that came out on last Friday when we had the clinic here. City Manager, when are we going to have the ribbon cutting for Shepherd's Park?
As soon as the two last trees are placed. We're still waiting on 2 large oaks.
Okay, we're waiting on 2 more trees to be installed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We have an agenda that has been published. Is there anything to add to the agenda before we move for an approval? What's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
Approve the agenda?
Moved by Commissioner McDonald, seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have comments from the public. We have comments on general items that are not agended items, and we also have comment cards on some agenda items. Even if if you haven't put up a comment card yet, you can, and when an agenda comes up, agenda item comes up, if you need to make a comment, you can make a comment, state your name and your address, and still fill out a comment card, and we'll work with you on that. We have a civility policy. Do you want to read anything, City Attorney, with regard to civility?
I don't, but if you want me to read something, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
They look pretty civil.
Or city clerk, whoever has it first. Do you have it, Mike, or is it okay? I think the rules are up there on the podium. When
on
you come
every
up, just
agenda.
be,
Copy is on
Would you
every
like me to
agenda.
read it?
it's on the, okay, city manager.
What is civility? Civility is caring about one's identity, needs, and beliefs without degrading someone else's in the process. Civility is more about merely being polite. Civility requires staying present even with those persons with whom we have deep-rooted and perhaps strong disagreements. It is about constantly being open to hear, learn, teach, and change. It seeks common ground as a beginning point for dialogue. It is patience, grace, and strength of character. Civility is practiced at City Hall.
Thank you. We have comments from the public, 3 minutes maximum. Our first general public is from Mr. William Rudge.
Good evening. I'm William Rudge, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road in Stuart.
If you could speak up, Mr. Rudge, or hold the mic, or anything you need to
Is that
do.
any better? Okay. Good evening. I'm William Rudge, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road in Stuart. I'm accustomed to 5 minutes. I've only got 3, so I will be brief if I can.
I cannot hear you.
I will be brief if I can. I'm accustomed to 5 minutes. I've only got 3.
Can you
so-
pull that whole contraption towards you? Thank
Is
you.
that better? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now we got it. I'd like to know why I still cannot see the July 29th Budget Workshop number 2 video on the website. It's been almost a month.
Okay.
It's still not available. The second thing I would like to address is why is this commission and the city still paying an attorney who is repeatedly lying, defrauding, misleading, deceiving you and the entire justice system? I'm wondering why that's still on payroll.
Now I understand what you're saying.
The other thing I would like to address is, you just took an oath, Mr. McDonald, to defend the Constitution. Does that include Article 10
Direct
and
your
Article 7?
comments directly to all of us, sir.
Okay, well, one of your commissioners just took an oath to defend the Constitution, and I was wondering if that includes Article 7 and Article 10. If it does, why did you ask, how can we break that on a special commission meeting in 2011? I'm just curious of what part of defending and protecting and, well and faithfully would that be? And I guess that's it, I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Karen Hall.
You approved the agenda, and like he said, you have something on the agenda,
Your
and,
name and address, your full name.
sorry. Karen Halls, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road. Thank you for your service. You just approved the agenda, and the meeting isn't there on the website, so there's no way for us to check what the agenda says. You see what I'm saying? Because now we all feel like we got to keep checking, or so you can't approve agenda when you don't even have the meeting there, the Budget 2 workshop for us to look at, and that's what he talked about. But I want to talk about the meeting that you guys are going to have, or it's going to be a hearing or a trial. So I made everybody a little packet, because it's very quick, just like, here's 3 different falsified documents. We only found these this past Passover Easter season. So it's like 3, only one can be good. And then we have just the compliance that the Rudges did, and so that is for you guys. And then the but for, you guys have this already. It's one of the exhibits. It's called but for, because but for this perjury, this case would have been settled. So I've given this to you guys, and some people don't read it, so I'm going to read it. But for Judge Metzger said it's going to be no prejudice to Rudge with a $30,000 cleanup with track hose and demos with armed force. Paul and Nicoletti said it was a lawful injunction after a hearing. There was no hearing. 19th Circuit Robert Kilbride, he said it was irrelevant to the motion. They were talking about our dead attorney. Metzger appellate brief, this would still be either Nicoletti, Kilbride, that Rudge was notified of all action taken by the city, was fully engaged in the process with the assistance of counsel. No, our attorney was dead. False. Death of Sondheim was not an issue, according to Kilbride. False. There was no switch of attorneys. False. The case was remanded, it's pending in state court, and it's noticed for trial. And Kilbride said, Rudge never motioned to dissolve the injunction. False. The circuit, so then we went to the Court of Appeals of the 11th Circuit, and Kilbride said, okay, yeah, he did motion, but it wasn't timely. False. We do everything timely. We go by the book. We defend the Constitution. What we do is honest and fair and just and right, and we will get our due process. You guys have to decide, do you want to do it here or keep costing the taxpayers money in the courts? Okay, we're still going. This is Mr. Mortel. Here he comes. He told the judge that the stuff went in a truck to the dump, $30,000. And then Rudge was afforded a hearing, and that's not true. So it's all on the record.
Thank you, Ms. Rudge.
What is honorable?
Madam Mayor,
This one. Yes, sir.
just to respond to the two previous about the budget workshop too, it is posted on our YouTube channel, which is accessible under our meetings and live stream on the left-hand side of the menu. So it is
So it's on a
posted.
YouTube channel.
Yes, it is posted.
Thank you. Tracy Newsome.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Newsome, and I reside in Jensen Beach, 410 Northeast Jade Circle in Jensen Beach, Florida. I have been a Martin County resident for nearly 50 years and self-employed here for 30 years. I am a mother of 3 sons and 8 grandchildren. I have seen firsthand the fruit of homeschooling in my grandchildren and their homeschool community's fellow students and friends. I am thankful my grandchildren now have the opportunity to transition to the Oaks Academy. I am confident in the Oaks Academy's curriculum and lesson plans, which are centered around a high-level involvement by parents in the education of their children. The Oaks will provide a high-quality education for the children of Martin County, which holds a promise of strong and hopeful future. My grandchildren are also taking music lessons. I'm impressed with how quickly they learn, and I'm especially grateful to witness the joy that it gives them to perform their skills. The hybrid school model of the Oaks offers the time and the freedom for this, and other extracurricular activities available in Martin County, such as hands-on experience with wildlife observation and conservatories, visiting museums, science expeditions, concerts, theater, and playing team sports. I believe that St. Mary's Church and their beautiful centrally located parish would grant an ideal place for the Oaks Classical Christian Academy. I ask that you vote yes to approve the conditional use permit for the Oaks Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That's the end of our general comments. Again, we have items on the agenda. If you'd like to comment at the time when the items are called, you may still do so. I have all the other cards for those who have submitted them. We have a consent agenda. I'd like to pull item number 4, just,
Madam
you
Mayor.
have a general comment, ma'am?
Yes, it's a general comment for the Oaks as well. May I go ahead and
Yes.
present, please? I have children, we'll get out of your hair after this. So my name's Annalise Cooper. I live at 920 Southeast Flamingo Avenue.
Okay, I do on number 9, okay.
Thank you so much. This is my daughter Clara. She is, stand so they can see. She's enrolled at the Oaks Academy. Our children were both born here, and we have been so thankful for the things our community has to offer, from parks, beaches, museums, libraries, and the downtown Riverwalk. The Oaks Academy is a great addition for education in Martin County. This university model school will provide us support from other families, as well as outstanding teachers to help us and our students along the way. It is the best option for our family, and think others will find it to be a great option as well. We ask that you vote yes to approve the conditional use permit for the Oaks Classical Christian Academy. Thank you.
Thank you. And I went too fast. I'm looking at the speaker number instead of the item number. So, Ms. Gail Goldie?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I just wanted to, I'm sitting here in the audience and listening, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Matheson for demonstrating that you heard the public and that you are willing to go back and form a workshop, and the other commissioners have agreed to take a look at the mitigation of the wetlands and the stormwater. I think it's very important that you're not afraid to step back and say, in retrospect, I do believe that we need to take a look at some other issues. Comparing an apple and an apple to apples to oranges, I believe that the county and the city and their comp plans and things need to be looked at. I must say that I am very frustrated sometimes as a resident in the county because the county, I get to vote in the county, I don't get to vote in the city. I frequent the city, I make purchases here, I'm a resident, and sometimes it's a little frustrating. I have friends that are business owners in the city, and they can't vote in the city because they don't live in the city. However, they pay city taxes, their businesses are here. So I do appreciate everything that you all do, but I do believe that it's the right thing to do to look back and say, okay, we made a decision, but that doesn't mean that it stops there. You go back and you look and you say, this is what we heard, and this is what we'd like to continue to look at. Things are always changing, and I appreciate your taking the time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldie. Any other general comments? Thank you. We have a consent calendar. I'd like to pull item number 4, just to have the city manager give us a summary just for the sake of the public who's not here, and kind of recharge for us again what we'll be doing with those funds under that resolution 81, 2021.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve item number 3 on the consent calendar, pulling item number 4.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Thank you, yes. Item number 4, authorization to execute the American Rescue Plan Act Agreement, Resolution Number 81, 2021. Mr. Mortel?
This is Resolution 81-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund Agreement by and between the City of Stuart, Florida and the State of Florida Division of Emergency Management for the purpose of providing funds to local governments in order to facilitate the ongoing recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. City Manager?
Madam Mayor, I do apologize. In our workshop, I did a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation with outlining what the general objectives were for that. I don't have that with me, so I don't recall off the top of my head what percentage or what amount is going to each specific item. The main thing that has changed around this is that the original allocation that we believe we were getting when the Treasury first put out the spreadsheet was 6.4 million, and since it's reached Tallahassee and the readjustment that's been done there, the city is allocated 8.1 million and change, which is reflected in this agreement. There's a lot that's coming out about what's going to be said in the final rule versus the temporary rule, which is out right now. And so all of the government entities are kind of cautiously moving into the steps of what they had planned, because some of the information that's coming out is laying heavier restrictions, especially as it relates around nonprofits and allocations towards nonprofits to do specific things. So we are kind of anticipating what the final rule is going to say, and being cautious as we move forward on the act.
Thank you. Commissioners,
Move for approval?
their motion for approval by Commissioner McDonald. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meyer. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That's the end of our consented calendar. We have commission action items or legislative priorities for 2022. Is Mr. Kralski here? Or Mr. Holgart?
This would be Resolution 76, 2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the adoption of legislative priorities for the 2022 legislative session.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Ben Hogarth. I
Can't
did
hear you, Ben.
earlier.
We can't hear you, Ben. I don't know
sorry.
what's going on.
Let's see if I
Pull it
can-
all the way down to you.
Might be able to do it this way. Can you hear me a little bit better now? Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Ben Hogarth for the record. I put together a handful of items for us to kind of consider and talk about tonight. I'm glad Commissioner Meyer did bring up the legislative conference. We did know that the Florida League's conference was going to be coming up. Unfortunately, the timing of the delegation meeting didn't make it easy for us to be able to consider everything. We knew what was going to come out of those meetings. So certainly any comments, any items that you want to have added, my recommendation would be to add them and approve them all at once tonight. I can make revisions certainly with, approval or comments from commissioners individually. That's something we want to get out before the end of the week to the delegation, that's all.
Okay.
May I
All right.
jump in, Madam Mayor?
Okay, just as long as you don't bring up the things that I want to bring up.
Oh, okay, wow.
Okay, go on.
And I do apologize, I didn't send them right after the meeting last week for inclusion in this, but it's pretty simple. I think for our purposes, I mean, my job is to try to get us to adopt the entire slate of FLC priorities. I don't necessarily think that's appropriate. Don't tell my bosses over there. But there are a couple that are really in line with our plans and our comp plan and our style and our vision. So there, Mr. Hogarth already has a section for PFAS. I was on the policy committee at the League of Cities where we needled over the language of the PFAS policy priority statement for months. And based on a lot of input from utility directors and lawyers, and we came up with some language that is good. It basically asks the state to get its act together to finally start to work with the EPA to regulate PFAS, provide for remediation plans for target levels. And I don't know if it makes sense. I'll just quickly read the language if we want to maybe see if we can edit that. For PFAS, this would be the City of Stuart supports legislative action to address growing concerns about PFAS in soil and water, including the establishment of science-based cleanup target levels in conjunction with the EPA, resources for testing and research, public education and risk assessment guidelines, liability protection for entities who have legally used PFAS for fire suppression or have passively received PFAS into our water and soil, and the development of cost-effective and risk-based corrective strategies for PFAS. So it's asking for protection, it's asking for resources, it's asking for formal determination in conjunction with EPA. I'd ask that maybe this, I don't know, to your point,
Yeah,
if this
Commissioner
language
Meyer, those are all great points. I personally agree with them. I will say this, there's only a caveat. We did have a lot more language for that one, and actually ironically, language that we've looked at in the past. The challenge that I ran into is that our
Since we're
attorneys
in
are very
litigation.
sensitive to what we're putting out there, and that's why that section is very, very short.
Okay.
But we can certainly talk about it, and if you'd like, maybe send me that language
Okay.
after this, and I can talk to Mr. Peters, and maybe we can talk one more time with our attorneys and see if there's anything we can extract out of that.
Yeah, I want to make sure we don't run afoul of our legal standing right now in our case. Okay, so maybe we'll put that one aside. There's two other ones that are important I think we should add. One is a tree protection. There's a big push right now in the League of Cities, and in fact, we're targeting some local legislators for this. The position would be City of Stuart supports legislation to close loopholes and create standards in current law exemptions from municipal tree ordinances that have caused litigation and abuses, including the clear cutting of land pre-development and the removal of healthy trees that present little, if any, risk to persons or structures. Current law should be amended to apply only to developed single-family residential property, identify industry-appropriate standards for assessing tree risk, and identify necessary documentation. And this is a big push because in the last session, this bad bill was passed into law that basically preempts all tree protection. Anybody can go out, it's very gray, anybody can go out and cut down any tree because they think that it's a danger to persons or structures. So the league thinks that this is something we can move on this year, so I'd like to get that in front of our legislators. I'll give you that language and we can adopt.
These have already been adopted.
Yes, they were adopted by the entire league. And then the final one is transportation funding, supporting legislation to direct the DOT to establish a grant program to provide financial assistance for the installation of publicly available electric vehicle charging infrastructure on public or private property, providing technical assistance for the development and adoption of local or regional plans for charging infrastructure.
Recording in progress.
And associated equipment, I guess FPL's listening, and identifying additional transportation revenue to support innovative infrastructure and transit projects to meet the surging transportation demands driven by dramatic growth throughout Florida. This is in line with our sustainability action plan and the work we've been doing leading the way with electric vehicle charging in our little city. So I guess maybe I would make a motion to approve, including the tree protection ordinance, as I read just now, and transportation funding, in addition to the existing ones.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion and second. Do we just vote on that now to add that to the list, or is it just?
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, if you vote to amend that way, what I can do is work with Commissioner Meyer in the language that the league has provided. Put that in there. I do have to get that out to the delegation by the end of this week.
I'm sending it to you right now.
Perfect. So if you're all okay with that.
I would like to have a copy when you get through, because Mike talks so fast, but I would love to read it, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I can make sure that the whole commission, city manager, attorney, both have a copy as soon as that's done. I actually need to wrap my head around the tree ordinance one a little bit myself. So
There's a background right below it that we could incorporate as well.
Sure.
There are two things. So can we just vote on those two items to add them to the list? Where's our clerk? Oh, Sue.
Do you want to separate them? My motion was to just to improve
The whole thing.
the legislative priorities with those two. Well, the PFO is, I guess,
For a little.
I
thought we were gonna do
believe the
them
mayor has some
separately.
items of her own.
Because we're not ready yet, we're not doing the entire thing. Since he's making his comments, I just wanted to adopt as we go.
oh, okay.
And for clarification, this would be two additional priorities. Technically, I could probably wrap in. I think it might actually be better just to separate them. We already have one that's about infrastructure generally and railway. This one's, I heard what you were saying, and I guess that is more towards renewable energy and also, electric vehicles. We can probably separate that again. That's okay.
Or it can be included in as long as that electric vehicle charging ask is in the infrastructure ask is in the transportation.
It's certainly at the pleasure of the commission. As far as the PFOA language, if our attorneys find that acceptable, then we could probably massage some of that language too.
Okay.
So we have a potential change in the P4 language.
Right.
We have the trees, and then we have,
And then we have the electric vehicle
Electric.
charging infrastructure support with transportation. So I'll make a motion to add those two and potentially edit the language for
We
PFAS.
still need to approve the other ones too, don't we?
well, yeah, but.
The
not-
mayor
not-
has
we just
some-
trying to-
Okay.
You want to just,
Suggestions.
we can either say that we're going to do all these things at the end and add everything together, or just accept what he's doing now, and then when we do the final
I think
approval.
one vote for all of
Just
them would
wait,
be
okay,
fine.
okay. All right, so then any other comments?
Nope.
No. Anybody else has other comments? Everybody has given their comments? Okay, I just had a comment to ask you, about your knowledge of the Sadowski funds for housing development, and if we needed to add a push for that again in this legislative session, or do you know if anybody in Tallahassee if that's something that's still?
I think Commissioner Meyer would be better to answer that question.
So
Okay.
I specifically did not ask to include that because although we always want to fight for the proper use of the Sadowski Trust Fund, last session, a bill was signed into law that changed the way this housing trust fund worked. And now they are legally required to spend the money. However, they split it up into 3 pots. Now, there's a third of, well, more than a third, a little less than half of the money that goes by doc stamps goes towards affordable housing projects, like by law, can't be swept. And then there's 2 other pots that they've cleaved out of that are now going towards other things. So they've given themselves the ability to sweep half of the money, but now they're protected. So we decided not really to move forward with affordable housing as we normally do because it's already been addressed this last session.
Okay, so that was my issue. So we have the current items, I think there were 5 items in the 2022 legislative session in Resolution 76, 2021, and we've had 3 additional items to be,
Two
Report.
items and a modification.
okay, 2 items and a modification for the P4s. Okay. Any other questions?
I should probably just clarify one thing. Although our one appropriation request this year is going to be again for more money for our alternative water
For the
supply
water
project,
supply.
I did speak with Mr. Mortel about one of our policy priorities has to do with the infrastructure funding. Obviously, we're waiting for that bill to be passed on Federal Hill right now. If that is passed, then there could be potentially other opportunities for us, both with federal and state money at infrastructure. Something that we threw around was railway infrastructure, specifically like the bridge right here. I know that's something that's been discussed in years past. Not saying that's going to be a specific request, but we might be able to use that as an example when that time comes as well. So just wanted to add that clarification and had talked to Commissioner McDonald about that previously as well.
Okay, if there are no other comments, clerk, could you please call the roll on this item?
Wait,
Commissioner
did we need a motion to approve it?
I thought that we had made a
Already was-
motion.
Okay.
We did make a
Yours was all
motion. Commissioner
incorporated.
Meyer and then seconded by Commissioner
Matt
McDonald.
Donald, right? Yeah.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Just emailed it to you.
Hogart. Thank you.
And I apologize again, Mayor, for not having that included with the
It's okay.
agenda.
Our next item is item number 6, authorization to sell 55 Northwest Dixie Highway, resolution number 80-2021. Mr. Mortel?
This is a resolution 80-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute a vacant land contract and/or any addendums between the City of Stuart, Florida, and Middle Island Management and/or assigns for the sale of the city-owned property located at 55 Northwest Dixie Highway, providing an effective date and for other purposes. In summary, this was an unsolicited offer that came following up a prior RFP the city did. It's to purchase the property known as the North Point at the appraised value. It authorizes the purchasers to obtain an appraisal and submit it to the city manager, gives the city manager an opportunity to object to the appraisal if it's not at the adequate pricing, gives the purchasers a long due diligence period so that they can confirm any issues they have to do with any litigation or threat of litigation and any other issues that might come up on the property, and then is basically a cash closing.
Okay. Mr. Meyer?
I just had one question about, it says here that the seller, that's us, is responsible for, at our expense, title information. Is that our standard procedure,
It's-
or?
It's not. You can split that cost. You can have, that's the offer they presented. It can be, the seller can pay title. The reality is when you're selling the property, a lot of times they have the seller pay the title because you're representing that you have clear title. But
I
sometimes
know in our case, we've had some allegations
I
of
can
murky
tell you right now,
title.
it's not clear title.
Right.
I mean,
So, I mean, is there any ballpark of what, I mean, at our expense,
It's-
what that would mean?
It's generally based upon a promulgated rate is what the title insurance is, and it's based upon the purchase price. it's going to be a couple $1,000s.
How
probably
much do you think
$3,000.
it would be the purchase price roughly? Do we think it'll appraise for?
I'm guessing it'll appraise somewhere like 150 million.
If it appraised for.
No, I have no
We're
idea.
getting you your sidewalk under the bridge, man.
I don't want
Those are some
to
nice
publicly
dice you're
tell
rolling.
an appraiser what I think it's worth.
Probably, if it's like 1.25 million, and this is very rough, but probably upwards of $6,500, somewhere around there.
For title
For
insurance.
title insurance. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less.
I don't know anything about it. I just wasn't sure if that was our
I just pulled up a
standard.
calculator and
Okay.
put in that number.
Just for Mr. Mortel, I know,
You guys can instruct us to counter for split it or tell them to pay it. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm not willing to die on that hill.
I'm fine with that. To your knowledge, and it looks like in the language, the prospective purchaser is fully aware of the title history. Which was
They
in
are, and they just want to
agenda
make sure that they have an opportunity to correct it, and I believe they will. But yes, and when I say fully aware of the title history, we all think there's aware of the title history. I don't know if something got recorded on the property today. I don't think so, but they're aware of the litigation issue and the memos of lease being recorded against the property, for sure. And then, of course, they're still going to want title insurance, and basically what the language says, we'll give clear title accepting those issues. And I've given them a copy of the prior title policy, so they've seen it.
And in your opinion, the city has every right to sell this property based on the referendum, even though we had another offer?
It
which
doesn't, the
failed?
referendum lasts forever.
Okay.
Yeah. The referendum was that the city had the right to sell it.
I'll make a motion to approve, Madam Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Meyer and seconded by Vice Mayor Matheson to approve resolution number 80-2021 regarding authorization to sell the property owned by the city of Stuart located at 55 Northwest Dixie Highway. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is item number 7, authorization to execute the contract for sale of 1.78 acres Osprey Preserve. Please read the resolution, and if city manager could give us some background. I don't see any other staff here.
This is resolution number 83-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute a vacant land contract and/or any addendums between the City of Stuart, Florida and E. Clark Gibson for the sale of the city-owned 1.78 acres parcel located south of the Jensen Beach Boulevard and adjacent to Green River Parkway, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Yes, ma'am. This property was originally given to the city for the purpose of a possible fire station location during the development procedures for the Osprey Preserve, which is at Jensen Beach Boulevard and Green River Parkway. As we're expanding north with our fire services, we've evaluated the locations and siting of locations, and we found a better suited property location. And as a result, we've received an unsolicited offer for the purchase of this property. We structured it similar to your previous item with the requiring an appraisal and with a 21-day out in case we were not satisfied with the appraisal.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. McDonald?
Two things. One is, I'm going to address one with the issue with the contract first. I'm fine with the contract, except for there's one change I'd like to make. I think to send it back to them, is that on the assignment. And on the assignment, it says that they can assign the contract and then be released from liability. That's not, I'm paraphrasing. And I would like to have the language changed on that. And I just got to find it here. Sorry. My glasses are fogging up. May assign but not be released from liability under the contract. And the reason, they got 90 days for due diligence, there's something, they go out there on the property doing their due diligence, something happens, there's damage to the property, you don't know, they assigned it, and then we don't have, or they assign it to somebody else, and then that person goes and does damage, we don't know who they are, we don't know if they have the resources to deal with that, so that's what I'd like to do, is change that. If the commission would approve that. And that's, by the way, the exact same language that was in the contract that we just approved prior. The second thing is the proceeds from the sale, I'd like, since this land was designated to be a fire station, I'd like to be, any proceeds from the sale to be designated to pay for either land or capital expenses as far as building a fire station north of the bridge.
I second on both, as long as just net proceeds.
Yeah, I guess it would be
Madam-
net proceeds.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I was aware of Commissioner McDonald's concern about the assignability, and both the purchaser and his attorney have agreed to the language change.
Okay, so I'll make that a motion then to approve the contract with that language change and to set the net proceeds aside for fire station, for either for property or for capital improvements for a fire station.
There's a motion with amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Matheson, second, and Commissioner Maya, you have a comment?
Yeah, I do, thanks. So I understand that the idea originally was that this could be a useful location for a fire station. But I don't know if I would agree wholly that it was encumbered as a location for a fire station. In my recollection, I kind of fought against this development and the CRB, and then as the first development review at my time on the commission, and I was concerned about the impacts to quality wetlands on the urban fringe, and in my telling of this was a way to kind of make good a little bit on that, for me at least. That's what brought me over the edge on the end. This is a nicely forested piece, currently with commercial land use, and the zoning on it is, I don't know, I'm looking on GIS right now. I guess I understand the need for us to fund the new fire station. We are getting some money from ARPA for that. I just have a little bit of hesitation about, I mean, this is really at the very end of if we're talking about sprawl, if we're talking about development, I know it's still in the city, but this is on the very edge of the city, and it was originally a piece of land that made at least me feel a little bit better about actual wetland impacts across the street, and it's got quality pine and saw palmetto habitat on it. I don't know.
Would it be your preference to retain it and keep it and dedicate it to preserved land? Or
I was thinking about that. I was actually not necessarily ready to sell it just now, but because it is it is sort of adjacent to preserved lands as part of the Windermere project. But again, it's it's the back parcel. It's not fronting Jensen Beach Boulevard. It's the back parcel behind the Pinecrest Lakes subdivision. So I don't know, I guess I don't feel comfortable with it just now. But I also, if it were that those proceeds, or at least some of the proceeds, would go towards our tree program, I don't want us to keep, we're talking about wanting to plant trees throughout the city and urban reforestation. We've got to start getting serious about funding that effort.
I'll tell you, I'll change my motion to put 25% towards trees.
I mean, we have money in our tree fund. We have zero money in our fire fund.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go back. I mean, I'm trying to work out, but I do want to get the fire station funded. We have to do that.
I agree with the priority on the fire station. I think I share your thoughts on, trying to have some actual dedicated preserved land.
This is right up against preserve land,
May I ask how much money we need for the fire? 'Cause
Millions.
I think this money needs to go for the
We need millions.
millions. Yeah.
It'll probably be a $3 to $4 million project at least.
We'll have to wait on appraisal to see exactly how much this would yield.
The
if it
other
was
thing is,
sold.
when you talk about a fire station, you can obviously, the sky would be the limit. You can make it the best fire station in the country or a minimum one, either way, where right now the budget has 0.
Where is the conservation land that's up against it, to the north of it? That property to the north of it?
It's the property on the other side of the street.
Oh, so, okay, that's not even, so this property's not even in that watershed.
It's not contiguous.
That was where I had the hard time. I looked at a Google Maps. It's not part of the Osprey Preserve parcel.
It's on the other side of Green River, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all connected. Okay, well, I just putting my thoughts out there.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald, you had a motion?
Yes, motion to, I'll restate my motion to authorize the contract with the changes regarding the assignment and then using the net funds being dedicated to our fire station.
Second.
Yep, I think Commissioner Matheson
Oh,
already
I'm sorry.
seconded
I
it.
apologize.
Is there a motion, is there a confirmed second to that motion?
I had from Vice Mayor Matheson. If
Yes,
if he
had-
still stands.
I'm saying as long as, no, he's repeated his motion. I'm trying to see if the motion is still alive.
Well, I was
second
just
it.
trying to.
He hasn't withdrawn his second, so.
Are you withdrawing your second, Mr. Matheson? Did you change your motion, Mr. McDonald, to
No.
include the 25%?
No, I did not.
No, so. My second.
What was the?
I understand where we're
we
at.
have a second?
Just to,
Yeah.
just to,
I'm holding,
Yeah,
I'm holding.
My second still stands.
There's a motion and a second based on what? Clerk, could you please read what Mr. McDonald is preferring?
He stated, alter the contract using the net funds being dedicated to our fire station.
Yeah, and the assignment change.
His motion was to alter the contract to add the language making the buyer liable regardless of assignment, and to dedicate the net proceeds from the sale to the purchase of a fire station north of the bridge.
Thank you. That's all. Any other discussion on the motion and the second? Okay, we have resolution number 83-2021. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Thank you. Our next item is the second reading of Chapter 16 of the Comp Plan on Emergency Management, and that's set out in ordinance number 2468-2021. Attorney Mortel.
Ordinance number 2468-2021, an ordinance of the City of Stuart amending Chapter 16 Emergency Management, providing for severability clause, a conflicts clause, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes. The Commission heard this 2 meetings ago. It was held at bay for the Costco meeting for time purposes.
I don't think the audience can hear you, Mr. Mortel.
It was held at bay for one meeting for time purposes because Costco meeting was in between and there was time constraints. Otherwise, the changes that were asked by, I believe, Commissioner Matheson had asked for some paragraphs to be moved back and forth of the order of them, I believe, and they were changed. And then also 16-9 is underlined to the extent that it defines what a state of local emergency is. And overall, the purpose for this was that the state legislature adopted a new state law as it relates to the city's ability to declare an emergency, how many emergencies can be declared, and the requirements of same. It basically just brings our code in line with the state statute.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Commissioner McDonald and Commissioner Meyer. Any discussion from the board? Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Madam Mayor, your public comment.
Public comment.
Oh,
I
sorry,
believe we missed that in the last item as well.
I missed that. You want me to go back and get public comments?
We voted.
No, you
Well,
just asked for
voted
public
already.
comment on this item.
Any
We'll have to wait
public
the 30
comments on
days for
item
the
number
challenge.
8? I don't think I have any cards for that. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is item number 9. And if this item or any other part of the agenda goes on, I would like to announce that I have a family obligation that I have to fulfill at about 8 p.m. So if I will leave, and I will have Mr. Vice Mayor take care, if we need to. We may not need to. Item number 9, the Oak School at St. Mary's Church conditional use, which is a quasi-judicial action. Mr. Mortel?
This is resolution number 75-2021, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, granting a major conditional use approval to allow a school, private, parochial, or technical, for the Oaks Classical Christian Academy, Inc., at St. Mary's Episcopal Church, with said lands being more fully described in Exhibit A attached, providing for conditions, providing for repeal of all development orders in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communications to disclose? Commissioner Bruner?
I'm here with an open mind, and I've spoken to Ashley.
Ms. Brolin?
Thank you.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes, I spoke with Ashley and one other woman, and I'm here with an open mind.
Commissioner Meyer?
I have emailed with members of the applicant, and I'm here with an open mind.
Commissioner Vice Mayor?
I have spoken with city staff, numerous parties of the applicant, and in all honesty, my mind is somewhat biased towards my 2 daughters.
He's conflicted.
Are they at the school currently?
No, so
Oh, you're saying
But I-
as a parent, you
as a
understand?
parent. But I
Alright,
do
so
understand.
you have no business deals with the
I
school?
have no business deals. I have complete understanding of their desires.
You're a conflicted parent? Okay, just as a parent, not as a,
So what does that mean?
as a,
He's going to get an ethics complaint.
no. What was that,
Are you
Mr.
here with an
Martel?
open mind, or are you
I am
biased?
The
here
code
with an
requires
open
Commissioner
mind.
Matheson to vote, but he can't vote if he is conflicted.
I'm here with an open mind as a parent.
And it can't be qualified.
Mr. Martel, are you clear, are we clear?
I'm here with
on
an
this?
open mind.
Yeah, I'm clear.
I'm here with an open mind.
I'm clear.
I mean, are you satisfied that the declarations of of the Vice Mayor is that he's here with an open mind? And I think he acknowledges that he's a parent of children, and the school involves children. I think that's all he wanted to say. Thank you, sir.
You can testify with them.
I've spoken to several people, whether personally or by, I think several, or by email. I've responded to their emails. I did want to get to speak to someone at the St. Mary's Church, but I didn't get to speak to them. And I've gotten information from Ms. Erin on our staff, so I've communicated with staff. I'm here with an open mind, and I'm wanting to hear from the folks as well as our staff, and I have some concerns. The resolution number 75, 2021, Mr. Martel? You read it already?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay. All right, so Mr. Freeman?
Do we have to swear?
Okay, sorry. Who is who's representing? Is it Ms. Frolin that's representing? Okay, so will everybody, Mr. Martel, could you please deal with the swearing in of all the potential witnesses?
Let the record reflect that, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people are being sworn, 4 members of the applicant and 1 staff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you. And
Let
when
the
you
record
get
reflect
up,
that
then-
they've testified affirmatively.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, let the record reflect that they've testified affirmatively that they're under oath.
Okay, thank you. When you come up, you can give all your information. Mr. Development Department, will you please give a brief summary of the item and describe the location of the property and the current zoning or any change that's requested and what they're exactly seeking in this conditional use approval on this property, including whose property it is and whether we have permission from the original property owners. Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Commission. This application is a conditional use. The site is located at St. Mary's Church, 701 Southeast Ocean Boulevard. It's located within the CRA, but outside the urban districts, which brings it under the conditional use from a normal zoning point of view. So the request is for the granting of a conditional use to allow a school in the R3 zoning district. As you see, the location of the property is sandwiched between Osceola and Ocean Boulevard. The present zoning is R3. The future land use is office residential. This application is looking for a school to be operated 2 days a week currently. The number of students is presently set at 18. There's a condition attached to the any approval that staff are recommending that anything above 25 students is conditioned, and it would have to come back to the board for further approval. The site is surrounded by on-street parking, and staff have calculated there are approximately 25 spaces on street, and actually off-site, within the site boundaries, there is probably more than 80 spaces that we could count. The uses have been designed to coexist with existing church uses, Bible study and so forth, and I'm sure the applicant can expand on that. The applicant is here tonight to present more. Thank you. And I should say that the owner of the owner's representative of the church has signed acknowledgement that they're okay with the school proceeding at this location.
Thank you.
He also sent an email just prior to this meeting confirming that could
Okay.
be included in the
I
record.
got that email.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Mortel, because this is by resolution, this conditional use is a one-time hearing at this point?
That's correct.
All right, sorry, to go by my little thing here. Miss, are you completed with your presentation, staff?
Yes, Mayor.
Madam Mayor, may I just ask staff one quick question? Mr. Freeman, if this is approved because it revokes any previous development, was the church originally a PUD, or is that by?
It's a standard zoning. I think in the past it has been used for certain uses, whether or not those were in existence when the zoning prohibited school uses or required a conditional use for those things, but it has been used in certain times past that.
So putting this on there as major conditional use, does that change the zoning? Does this become the zoning?
No, this is a conditional use to the R3 zoning. The R3 zoning stays in place.
Okay, thank you.
And there has never been a school at this site?
Yeah, there's
I think there has been nursery schools in the past, and there's historical evidence to show that. Whether or not those were in place prior to this particular use being required to be a conditional use within the R3 zoning, I'm not certain.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am?
after reading over that and the location and that there's children been there before, and they're only going to be meeting twice a week, I'll let you all discuss what you want, but I'll move for approval.
Second.
We need to hear from the applicant.
We need to hear from the petitioner.
We need to close the hearing out before.
Okay. Yeah, we
Procedurally.
can't move, thank you for your sentiments, Commissioner, but let's proceed with the meeting before we have any motions. Will the petitioner please present their case?
Good evening. Thank you to Mr. Freeman and his staff. I'm Katie Cruz. I'm the president of the board of the
Can you
Oaks,
spell your last name, please?
CREWS,
Okay, thank you.
as well as the head of school, and I'm here with Ashley Froling, whom I know many of you have spoken with. She's a parent at the Oaks and has been helping us with this process. I'm also a mother of 4, 3 of whom are enrolled at the Oaks. As you know, the last 18 months has brought about many changes in the educational landscape, among others. The Oaks is a hybrid solution for many parents who want to play an active role in their child's education, but are looking for a support community, a strong academic framework, and excellent classroom instruction. Until now, local families have not had an option just like this with this type of hybrid model, and so we're happy to be able to bring it to the Stuart community in Martin County so that they don't have to look elsewhere or travel farther to get that. I and many others who are in this community, and some of who you heard from tonight, believe that the school will be have a positive and lasting impact on our children, our families, and our communities. And yet, when it comes to our logistical impact, the picture couldn't be more different. Our traffic impact to Stuart, we believe, will be extremely minimal and may even go unnoticed. I like to think it'll cause less traffic than a Fresh Market BOGO or chicken deal. The coming and going required by our families will be consistent with St. Mary's current weekday programming, like support groups and Bible studies that they already have there. We'll be making no structural changes to the building. We have a small but enthusiastic group of parents and families. In total, it's just 9 cars, and that includes, 12 cars, and that includes our staff. So we're very small right now. And lastly, I'll say how wonderful this specific location will be for us, but also the community. Because it's so central to many parts of the city and the county, we are much more accessible to many residents in different areas and at all income levels. So we're grateful that St. Mary's has agreed to have us there and that they're willing to have us on their beautiful campus. We're sorry they couldn't be here tonight, but I know they communicated with all of you. So we're asking that you fill in the last piece of this puzzle and vote to approve the resolution.
Thank you. Ms. Froland, you have something to say?
Sure. Thank you so much first to staff, Aaron and Kev. It's been a pleasure really to work with both of them. And I'm really speaking as a parent. I've been homeschooling for the last 3 years. I have 4 kids now. I started out when I had 1 kid. And I have been looking for a school like this, really, I mean, ever since I started homeschooling. And, the university model of hybrid schooling, we will be the second school of this model in the state of Florida. And we have some of the surrounding counties, there are schools that have a similar approach. And we have, parents in our county that travel to the other counties. So I think that this will serve our local community who are looking for an alternative schooling. And I'm thrilled that we would be at such a centrally located area as well. I live in Jensen Beach, and we have many families coming from all across the county. So the location really very much serves us. And it's been a pleasure to work with St. Mary's as well through this process.
So, Ms. Froland, you were instrumental in preparing the application and helping?
Yes, yes, I was happy to volunteer and help. Katie and Nora Lee are the founders of the school, and I have been in a homeschool co-op with Katie, and I heard about the model of the school and said I want to jump on board and how can I help? So you guys got to interface with me for the groundwork.
Thank you. We can either ask you some questions or we can ask you if you have any witnesses that you were going to call to say anything, or you're just presenting your case. You don't have anybody else?
No, we have no witnesses.
Okay, we'll just wait until the time. Okay.
You're fine.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant, knowing that we have 2 people here who are representing the school at this time? Commissioner Bruno, you have any questions for them?
No, I think it'd be a great asset in our city, and I'm happy that they're here, going to be here, yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
No questions.
Commissioner Meyer?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner?
No questions. Maybe some comments during the deliberation period. Sorry for jumping the gun on the second.
Okay. You're staying at 18 to 25, is that your limit?
Yes, with the current conditions that are in this resolution, 25 would be our limit.
Okay. And you're going to use the same ingress and egress as the church now?
Yes, we plan to come off of Southeast Osceola, turning onto Southeast Amerigo. And then we've asked our parents to turn in right off of Southeast Amerigo. The drop-off is right there in the middle. And then we've also asked them to turn right onto Southeast Ocean Boulevard, just to make things that much easier for everyone. And they will have a map before their first day that we're actually giving out tomorrow, stating all of that and showing the traffic flow that they need to take.
And there's a nice crosswalk there already. I go get the books every week at the church, and yeah, it's set up for children. It could be.
Thank you. Does the petitioner wish to offer any additional information before concluding your presentation?
I think I would just like to put some emails of support into the record that for people who were unable to be here.
Okay. Thank you.
I received a lot of emails. They were from the parents, the fathers, the grandparents, the grandmother, grandfather, everyone. Everyone very involved.
Okay. All right. If there's no other presentation from staff or from the applicant, we'll be closing our evidence portion and close this hearing.
Before we close, I have a question for staff.
Okay, you have a question for staff?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Well,
You can sit if you want to until we
Thank you.
call you. Thank you.
Well, so this was to kind of follow up on the question from Mr. Dias earlier. So the only technical issue I have is just in the language of the resolution in section, let me pull it up here. And I guess I thought this is maybe what you were trying to get at. Section 6, all development orders in conflict with this resolution or any part thereof is hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. This resolution shall prevail if any provision of this resolution conflicts with any contractual provision between the city and the property owners or applicants of the site. So the question was, the zoning would still persist. I mean, this language seems pretty extreme, though. Is it, is it satisfactory to you, Mr. Mortel, that?
I don't know what the underlying document is adopting the church. I'm sorry, I don't know what the underlying document is adopting the church. For what it's worth, it's a pretty big campus as well, and I also know that Lucido and Associates has an office in there as
Right.
well. So if there's a conditional use that authorized the use of their office, it may erase that, but we could come back and amend it later if that was the case. I also
Okay.
don't know what the shared parking is or what the lease is that Lucido and Associates have with regard to it, or where the location of the church is going to be. I also know that there's a meeting there where people don't want to disclose their identities that takes place a couple nights a week as well, and I don't know what conflicts that may or may not have with it, or whether that was approved by a minor or major or conditional use as well, because I just don't know anything about the title of the property.
Okay, well, I feel comfortable with this in that there's a limit on the 25, and that they're, contractually by resolution bound by the operations document and by the plan that they submitted that also confirms on it that there will be no structural alterations to the building. I guess the only other thing is that, do we need to coordinate at all with the school district on, is there any oversight from the school district on this?
There
or-
isn't, because you have to recognize that these students are actually already accounted for, because the homeschooled
Right.
parents they're documented already anyway.
Okay.
So,
Just meeting twice a week in the building.
Right,
Um,
okay.
Go on, Mr. Matheson,
Well-
and then I have a question too.
so I guess, Mr. Mortel or Mr. Freeman, my question, and I interpreted the phrase that Commissioner Meyer brought up, was, I looked at it as there was a historical school there at some point, and this prevails with new language that would
Yeah.
cap the students at 25%, even if the historical school had 50 or so.
I mean, fundamentally, I look at it as the church signed the application, they're aware of it. If they were here objecting, we'd probably go in a
Okay.
different direction, but they're not.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not. They used to have a daycare there a long time,
Yeah,
preschool a long time
they've
ago.
had a daycare, they have
My
Sunday
kids went
school. For me, over the past 2 years, one of the things we can't thank enough are our teachers and students and what they've been going through. And for me, if I examined something through the eyes of a father, one that chose to homeschool my oldest daughter last year during the pandemic, and that makes me biased in any sort of way, knowing in full right that my daughter has no affiliation at all with this school or any of that. It's just that that's how I'm looking at this. You know, I don't think that's an ethics violation or makes me biased at all, being a parent up here. But for your question, Commissioner Meyer, my daughter was home all last year, but enrolled in the Florida Virtual School program. I don't know what programs these children are enrolled in, but I commend everyone for moving forward and, you know, setting this up. It was stressful on my wife and I to figure out what to do with our daughter, and we had a tutor during last year, and we chose to go back to the public school system this year with an incredible amount of hesitation. But it's a lot of work. This is capped at a proper level where it has to come back to us. It's on a campus that is designed to take large capacity of people throughout different times of the week. You know, and the more options our children have for the best education that their parents feel is suitable for them, in my mind, in this community, the better. So.
Thank you. Mr. Mortel, can I just go to line 1 in the resolution? I think it's about line 1. Well, maybe line 3 or so. It says, on August 23rd, they consider the application by the Oaks Classical Christian Academy, Inc., the applicant, and St. Mary's Episcopal Church, the property owner. And then we go down to section 5. Section 5, maybe 5B, so that administrative penalty would apply to both of these parties, the applicant and the property owner, if there's any violation, or is it just to the
Generally speaking, the way
applicant?
our code works is that the administrative penalty goes to the landowner, and then as a tenant of the landowner, the church would have to extract it from them some way.
No, the landowner is the church.
I understand. So the church would be who gets the penalty, and then as
Yes.
the tenant of the church would have to extract it from the Oaks.
But we're not anticipating any code violation. We're anticipating that if we approve this, that they're going to do everything properly.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But the remedy goes to the landowner.
Okay, just want to make that clear, that the Oaks is very clear on this resolution if this board decides to approve it. Does any member of the public, did we close the evidence? Yes, we did. Does any member of do we have any other questions or anything? Does any member of the public wish to make a comment? And I have comment cards here. I'll start with those that I have comment cards with, but you're free to make a comment and fill out a card so we can record your information. Kate DeWitt.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kate DeWitt. Address is 813 Kruger Parkway in Stuart, and I have been sworn in. I'm here to offer support for the Oaks Academy. The Oaks, as you've heard, is proposing a hybrid schooling option that would be a huge blessing to the families in our area. The hybrid schooling options foster more parent involvement while still ensuring a rigorous academic environment is provided. As a result of the events of this past year, we've seen all sorts of options come to the table, from in-school to Florida virtual to homeschooling to everything in between, some kind of combination of everything. And as a mom of school-age children, I'm very thankful that options such as this and others have come to fruition during this time. And there's other programs similar to the Oaks and what they're proposing that exist to our counties to the south and the north. And unfortunately, there are families that do leave the county and utilize these programs, and it would be so nice to be able to provide those services to our families here within our city limits, especially in this location here, which is so centrally located. So I think the Oaks Academy will be an asset to our city, our local families, and I would request your approval of this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Evelyn Duenas.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Duenas. My address is 5503
Speak up
Southwest
a little bit more.
Coral Tree Lane in Palm City. I currently have 2 daughters enrolled in the Oaks. I basically am here to ask that you vote yes. I am brand new to this homeschooling thing. I also started because of the pandemic last year. And I fully expected my kids to whine and to tell me that they wanted to go back and they hated every second of it. And because I joined a co-op with these ladies, they absolutely loved it. And they learned so much. And I was so impressed and so shocked, really, to hear them say all the positive things they said about it. Because I've only known the public school system. I have 2 grown daughters that have completed the public school. And as much as I wanted to continue the homeschooling, I knew that I needed help and I needed more structure. And when Katie mentioned the Oaks and that it would be a hybrid institution that would offer teachers and a curriculum that I didn't have to come up with, as well as involvement on my part, 3 days a week, I basically continue to teach, and 2 days a week, we get a real teacher who gives us the curriculum and guidelines to do it with. I am just here just to say that I am blessed and just very fortunate that we've decided to basically start this institution together as a group, and just ask you to vote yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments on item number 9? Any other comments on item number 9? What's the pleasure of the board?
Call the question.
We have
Is there a motion?
Motion and
Well, I guess we probably need to, if we.
Yeah,
do it-
we need to have
proceed.
a
Do you wanna make
motion.
your motion?
Can we have, I'm requesting a motion.
Oh, I move motion of approval.
Commissioner Bruno has made a motion. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Commissioner Matheson.
Sorry, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Would anybody like to repeat the motion? Ms. Soucy or Mr. Mortel?
Motion for approval.
Just motion for approval as recommended by staff?
Yes.
Well, I think it was just a motion
It's
for approval.
Resolution 75, 2021.
75-21.
Thank you. No further deliberation. Please call the roll, clerk.
Vice Mayor Matheson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner,
Yes.
Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your participation. The next item is item number 10, abandonment of the right-of-way between 26 Seminole Street and 19 Osceola Street, resolution number 2470-2021. Mr. Mortel?
This is ordinance number 2470-2021, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, to provide for the abandonment of certain public right-of-way within the city, being that portion of a platted 12-foot wide alley in between 26 Southeast Seminole Street and 19 Osceola Street, lots 5 and 14, Block 3. According to the amended plat of Charles A. Porter edition as recorded in Plat Book 2, page 75, Public Records of Palm Beach, now Martin County, Florida, more clearly described and depicted in Exhibits A, B, and C attached hereto, providing for payment of a privilege fee, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Tom Reed, Senior Planner, for the record. This was noticed as per code at our meeting in, I believe, July, and it's back tonight as an ordinance, and it is for the first reading. It is for the abandonment of the alleyway at 2060 Southeast Seminole Street and 19 Southeast Osceola Street. The applicants are Stephen Vitale and Chuck Urey. So we can see that the site is located in between Seminole and Osceola Streets. As mentioned earlier, the parcel on the north is owned by Stephen Vitale. Chuck Urey owns the parcel to the south. The area of right-of-way that is being proposed for abandonment is 12 foot wide, and it's located behind the Enchanted Cottage, which was moved to the property sometime last year, about a year and a half ago, and that was part of the Fraser Creek Townhomes project to make room for that. The city's Public Works Department does not object to the abandonment of the city's interest. A fair market appraisal of the rear property has been determined that the market value of the property is $2,050. Staff recommends payment of a privilege fee in the amount of 100% of the market value, or $2,050, into the city's property management fund within 90 days of approval. Staff recommendation is move adoption of ordinance number 2470, 2021, right-of-way alleyway abandonment at first reading. That concludes staff's presentation.
Madam Mayor, I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner McDonald. Is there any discussion by the board or any questions for staff? Any comments from the public? Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vitale, for attending.
Oh, he's done.
The second motion, the 11th item on the 11th hour, it's not the 11th hour yet. We're amending Chapter 22, Fire Prevention, ordinance number 2471, 2021. Mr. Mortel.
This is ordinance number 2471-2021, an ordinance of the city, Stuart, amending Chapter 22 Fire Prevention, providing for a severability clause and a conflicts clause, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. The chief's extremely nervous, so if you guys could be easy on him
I saw how they're trying to
tonight.
hide, but I wanted him to come to the stand in case you guys had any questions. Madam Mayor, this came before us as a request from the fire chief. Basically, we're amending the code and striking the city's regulations and adopting the state fire prevention code. Unbeknownst to me, and that Mr. Chief Felicione brought up to me, is that I believe it's every 3 years when the state adopts their fire code, there's actually a requirement that you re-adopt or analyze your local ordinances as it relates to the fire code to make sure they're in line with whatever the new code is that the state puts out. And all this does is, we did this similar to the building department where we eliminate a lot of the verbiage in our local code and refer to the state code.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McDonald, seconded by Vice Mayor Matheson. Do we have any comments from the commissioners?
I have a question for you, Chief, that actually one of the commissioners brought up, but I don't think they want to ask.
I would like to, if you're referring to my question.
Yes, go ahead.
Chief, I'm looking for the language, but the language prohibiting an open fire is struck from our ordinance, and as I understand, we're mimicking the state ordinance, but in the city of Stuart, are you allowed to have an open fire from fire pits such as, purchased at Home Depot or other big box stores?
Yeah, so
really the general overview of this whole thing is we had all of this old language and ordinance, really the Florida Fire Prevention Code, it's called, which is adopted as state law, right? You're not to duplicate what's in the state code, right, with a local, there's no reason for it. So this is really just language cleanup, 99% of it. To answer your question specifically, absolutely you can. There's provisions in the state code that, and again, really the easiest part for us as a fire rescue agency is to use, same with what our inspectors use, our chiefs, everybody is, that is, quote unquote, the Bible is the Florida Fire Prevention Code. So in there, it lists everything you can think of, which is why it doesn't need to be in this, including outdoor fires, if there's certain provisions that are met. But at any time that the fire official deems that it's dangerous due to, wind or carelessness or, not having the steps followed, we have the right to shut it down.
That's why you'd see a fire ban or something if it's been extremely
and
dry.
generally the county would do it because they're more rural than us. But again, that's one of the oldest questions is, if I have a fire pit in my backyard on one of our 2 cold nights a year, is the fire department going to come shut me down? Well, it depends is the easiest answer, right?
Maybe.
Because if you have smoke blowing into your neighbor's window,
If you're
the
burning
answer
your
is
old
yes.
dead refrigerator in your backyard, then
So, as long as you're not, because again, we have to look out for the neighbors in the neighborhood as well. So, if they say, well, I'm allowed to have a fire pit, but smoke's blowing in my neighbor's window and they have medical problems, and the answer is no, it's going to be shut down. So,
Perfect. No, if you,
But yeah, a lot of this is just.
upstanding citizen would have a fire pit of the appropriate time.
I've had fire pits all my life.
So,
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a lot of
I don't burn anything smelly in it.
the items that you see struck, don't think that they are gone.
are totally
They're
right.
just already
Defer to
addressed.
the states.
Correct.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments on this ordinance?
what are you burning in your pile?
No, that's the question. Ordinance number 2471, 2021, Commissioner McDonald and Commissioner Meyer, is that correct?
Matheson.
Matheson. I was the
Matheson,
second.
sorry. I did look at Commissioner Matheson. It was easier to say Meyer. As we prolong this meeting for one more minute. No other comments? Are you ready, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes. No, yes. Suzanne?
Suzanne is no longer here.
Oh, my God, is that Mary? Okay. Mary, please call.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes,
Vice Mayor Matheson?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes, thank you.
good meeting. Very good.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.